it's nighttime there. I got coffee here. There we go. Okay. Here while
Okay, we're live.
You see that we're live on your end?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live stream on the Bow Wow Bill YouTube channel, the Facebook page. If you guys, and the Facebook started taking these live streams down, so I'm definitely promoting more of my YouTube stuff. I'm on Spotify now as well, so I've been porting over all the videos slowly but surely on Spotify. I'm starting to get more subscribers there. And if you guys like what I do, please consider supporting me on Patreon. And this is a QR code right over here for Patreon. If you scan that, it'll take you right to my page, or patreon.com/bowwowbills. And I'll put a link in the comments down below. Oh, whoops, let me remove this. And I'm talking today with William Chandler-Duff. How you doing, William?
Very well indeed.
Where are you at in the world?
I am in the UK.
Salute from Quebec. Do you know what? This is what's so cool about these live streams, man, is that it's worldwide. Salute from Quebec. And you're welcome to share this too, man, since we are live. And if your audience has...
How do I share it?
So you need to open a new tab in your browser if you're on the computer, and then just go to Facebook page or whatever. And then I'll tag, so it's on my Bow Wow Bill page, but I'm going to share it on my personal page. And if you guys are watching, please share. And I will tag you in it, so that might make it easier for you to find.
There we are. I think I should find it. There we go. Bow Wow Bill. And let's see.
Yep, I see it right there. And I'm sharing. We are live.
It says you are live. Oh, yeah. There we go. I can see you. Okay, let me just share that very quickly.
Okay. Very good. And I have coffee over here, and you have an alcoholic beverage.
That's it. There, I've shared it to my Facebook. So anyone that follows me, the few people that follow me, they can join in and watch the conversation unfold. Yeah,
and if the vast majority of the people watch this after the fact, and now that it's on Spotify and stuff, that's what my main purpose of these. Actually, William, it's a very selfish purpose. I wanted an excuse to talk to some of the best dog trainers in the world, so I could learn from them. Right?
That's the same for me.
Really? Yep. And and if people can gain or garner any knowledge out of the conversation that we've had, or just kind of learn to know me better or whoever I'm speaking to better, that's my goal, So let's talk about your podcast. You have Super Canine.
Yeah, the Super Canine Show. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Yeah, like you say, Bill, the aim for me is, obviously I want more and more people to watch the show, right? Everyone wants that. The more people we can have watching the show, the better. But for me, it's almost like it just gives me an excuse to talk to people who I really want to talk to, and not even just people in the dog training world. The last podcast I filmed was with Dr. Jennifer Zaluk. She's really not a dog trainer. She's an animal trainer, and she's written a fantastic book on Animal Training 101, if you're interested. And then our podcast today, I just filmed the podcast today, another in-person podcast with Catherine Burbelsing. She's known as Britain's strictest head teacher, and that was a really interesting show. But yeah, I mean, the primary reason why I do these podcasts is because I'm really interested in the guests themselves, and then secondary to that is sharing that with everyone else and hoping that more and more people listen to it and absorb the knowledge and information that is there in the episodes. Yeah.
How long have you been doing the podcast itself?
I don't know. I started sort of midway last year. The first
Okay.
episode was with Larry Crone.
Okay, my buddy Larry.
Yeah,
My
that's
buddy
it.
Larry. I just did one with him, and
Yeah, I
how
heard.
long?
I think he was calling you Bob.
Yeah, Joel was. Joel called me Bob, and Larry's just like, Joel, that's Bill. But he doesn't know that. I don't know. There's just especially in the U.S. people, Bob. In the UK, they say Bob's your uncle, right? That's for something that's simple. Bob's your uncle. But in the US, I don't know, man. I've always been called Bob, and I don't know it's because of the B started my name, Bill. And so I own Bow Wow Bob and Bow Wow Bob's because people might not remember me, and then they'll find Bow Wow Bills when they go to Bow Wow Bob. So it's pretty common. I'm used to it. We're giving Joel a hard time. And you should definitely have Joel Silverman on your podcast. He's trained a lot of dogs for film and television. And if there's anybody that you would like that I've had as a guest, I'd be happy to make a contact for you if that's something that you're interested in. When did you start working with dogs, William?
When did I what?
When did you start working with dogs? Let's talk about you for a second.
Yeah, sure. I suppose I started working with dogs professionally maybe about 7 years ago.
Okay.
Let's see what. So I suppose you're saying, well, how did I get started into dog training, right?
Yeah. How did you get started? What was did you grow up with dogs? Did you?
Oh, well, it started with my first dog, or the family's first dog, let's say. Her name was Cougar, and she was a Doberman, and she had a number of behavioral issues, many different behavioral issues, all of the worst behavioral issues you can imagine. That is human aggression, aggression towards other dogs, pretty extreme, let's say, separation anxiety, and yeah, I mean, those are the main ones. But she had a number of others as well, and we went to many different dog trainers and to try and seek help and find a solution, and no one was able to provide that solution. So after eventually I ended up going, hey, let's research some of this ourselves and let's try and figure this out. We didn't really end up figuring out the solution with that particular dog, but that's got me started, let's say, on my dog training journey. And yeah, that was how I started in dog training.
Yeah, and then in the UK, it's a little bit different here in the US because we have a variety of tools that we can use, and even though I do use e-collars, I'm not strictly an e-collar trainer.
We have all the same tools available here as you do in the United States.
You do? It's not outlawed like it is in Germany, or?
No.
Okay.
Not yet, anyway. They've proposed a number of laws, and they're doing this again, where they're proposing to ban the electric collar in the UK specifically, and so far they've not been successful. But I feel like this time they're a little bit more serious in terms of their intent to ban the electric collar this time round. They still haven't banned it, but it's on the cards, let's say. And here in the UK, we've really got to fight back against that and really say, hey, no, this is necessary, and we need to keep this tool.
Yeah, I've heard. I guess I need to go there. I need to see Bow Wow William. We're both Williams. Somebody comment. What's up, Andy? And I think that I look forward to someday. I've never been to the UK myself. I would love to come.
Oh, you have to come. You have to come.
Yeah, I want to come there. I want to go to France.
When you come down, Bill, when you come down here, you should do a seminar or come down to see me, and you can see my dogs and how we do the training and everything.
I would love that.
We could do an in-person podcast.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that I'm working towards as well, is taking the show on the road. And I actually am doing something that's not dogs. That's I'm a Catholic, and I talk to priests and different people that about the Catholic religion and church and God and all that stuff. So that's a little bit out of the purview, but I'm getting the equipment to bring that so I can go to different parishes and speak with about that subject. But I love traveling around, man. I love to just meet the trainers, right? And to see, I just love to meet people in real life and
Mm.
to just see how they live their day to day. And I just recently went and saw, do you know who Omar von Mueller is?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's a dear friend of mine, and for a very long time, he's been a mentor over the internet. And even we
Really?
used to send DVDs, or he would send DVDs to me, like training
Mm.
DVDs before any of this technology started to get a little bit more advanced. But I've never met him in person. And there's just something different about it when you can meet somebody in person, when you can sit in front of them. And especially nowadays, with a lot of the drama and hype that I see in the dog training realm, I just know that people are different behind a keyboard, behind a camera than they are when you meet them in real life. Yeah, I
Yeah,
find
absolutely.
find it
But Omar,
refreshing.
he's a really cool, really awesome individual. The paintings that he does with the dogs is just fantastic.
Yes, I have a couple of them. He gave them to me when I was there, and and also just to watch him work,
Yeah.
and to see and to meet his dogs and to
Mm.
see. I talk to my clients all the time, and they think that we have the perfect life with dogs because we're dog trainers and we don't deal with any of the problems. And just the other day, man, I'm gonna do this thing where I do a dog trainer confessional on these live streams where I invite a bunch of dog trainers to just stop and tell me their worst story about their personal dog and the shit that they've gotten into. And I mean, just the other day, like not probably like 4 days ago, 5 days ago, I'm out picking up dogs, and my personal dog breaks into another dog's bag of food and chows it in the car. And I come back in the car, and my dog is like twice the size that she typically is. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're kidding. And I look down and I see that she's torn into this bag of food. And then I stop and get gas, and then my dog takes a shit on my back seat. And so, and it's just some of the stuff that we deal with, even if, I mean, she's trained, she's fine. She knew she shouldn't have done it, but that was probably the best day for her because she took a nice little nap afterwards. And, that's what I want to do, man. I want to go and see kind of behind the scenes. I don't really want to do it to to cast doubt or to see the problems, but it's refreshing when you see that these dogs that I've never met, but I've only seen little snippets of them, that they're just dogs, man. And I think that it's also a reminder to other dog trainers too, because on social media nowadays, all we see is edited, curated content of dogs just being the best performing dogs, the best listening dogs, I want to see the messy. I want to see the day to day. I want to
Yeah.
see,
But then
and
you get as well, you get the sort of stage mistakes where people pretend that they've made a mistake in their training. They pretend that there's been a mistake in whatever it is with their dog and their training. And they use that for social media to say, hey, look, mistakes happen to all of us, but it's a mistake that's curated in a way that doesn't make them look bad in any way at all, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
see
A
that
lot
you
of
see
this
that
shit
a
is
lot,
fake,
right?
dude. A
Mm.
lot of it's fake. Like we live in a world where it doesn't matter if it's real. It matters if it gets engagement. And
Right.
that's where, and I can, the crazy thing is, man, is I think that we're like, there's a part of our soul that recognizes truth.
Mm.
And my wife will send me something and I'm like, this is fake. And some people have a better knack for it, I think, right? Or just seeing the setup where the camera is. I see service dogs doing alerts, and I'm like, dude, this is totally fake. This is totally staged. And that's where I don't want to. I want to get, yeah, so misleading to dog owners. Can you see the comments as they pop up?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let me know if you want.
So misleading to dog owners. Dog walker rehab in the house. Good day,
Yeah.
gentlemen. Yeah, I can see them all.
Yep, and then, let me know if there's a comment that you wanna highlight or get to, but I think that
Yeah.
it's important to see, um, the day-to-day, see the
Mm.
small interactions, not just with dogs, but how people interact with other people, um, and also, I don't mean to intrude whatsoever, and so anytime that I travel, I always leave it to the person. If they want me to come, and just let them know, like, I'll be in the area, I would love to see them, love to meet them. I don't have any expectations, and I also don't want them to have any expectations as well. I don't necessarily go, to learn from them, because I mean, I'll compensate somebody if I learn from them, right? If I go
Mm.
to a class or, something like that, that's a totally different experience than if I'm just coming to visit. And so then I'll invite them out to dinner or something like that. And if they invite me over to their facility, then that's all the more better. But nothing's expected here, and I think that's an important thing too. I think that expectations kind of get in the way sometimes and lead to disappointment.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
When you started learning from dogs, did you learning to work with dogs? Did you seek out a mentor? What was the start of your learning process?
Yeah, I mean, I learned from a number of different people. A lot of different very successful dog trainers and some not so successful dog trainers and some people that say I regret learning from and some people that I am really happy that I learned from in the dog training world and also a number of academics as well. So yeah, I think I learned from a wide variety of different individuals getting started in dog training.
Did you start, like, going to YouTube? Did you seek out, like, a mentorship? Were you an apprentice or anything?
No, I was never an apprentice. No, I was never formally an apprentice under anyone.
What about YouTube and videos and
Well, YouTube, everyone when they first start training dogs, I think they go to YouTube first, and then they realize the limitations, the various limitations of learning things on YouTube, and that's when they start to go further. If they're interested in dog training and say progressing their abilities as a trainer, then they go much further than YouTube. But YouTube's certainly the place where you start for
what do you think
most.
the limitations are?
Well, there's only so much you can share in a YouTube video as a trainer, and it's not the same as, say, an online course, right? So an online course is slightly different in that it's structured and you an online course is different for a number of reasons, but it's structured in a way that one video leads to the next, and that's the way that the online course creator creates it, let's say. Whereas a YouTube video is more like there's a lot of different components that the YouTube video creator has got to think of when they're creating the video. One is like, hey, I want to get more followers. The other is I want to make sure that the person watching the video carries on watching from the beginning to the end, and there's all these different variables to it. And then one is, of course, also, hey, I want to provide some value to whoever's listening so that they listen to the next episodes in the future. But you can only get so far, I think, with YouTube videos. There's no YouTube videos that I've watched that have been particularly life-changing in terms of my dog training abilities.
Yeah. Hold on, somebody's. It's my Adrian Gould. I'm on a live stream, Adrian. She's a trainer up in Canada. I'll tell her to tune in to the live stream. I've done one of these with her. The one thing that I just remember, dude, I was in a community college. How old are you, William, if you don't mind me asking?
22.
That's so rad. I love it. I love it, man. You know, I could be your dad. like big time. Like I'll be 50 years old this year. And I've been working with dogs. I mean, I've been married to my wife 22 years.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Awesome.
So I love talking to younger trainers, man. And I love talking to newer trainers. I love talking to people because I see myself as well and the passion that I had when I was young. And did you always know? I mean, when you were, so you started this back when you were 14 working dogs, and what?
Yeah, that was
15 years old.
That would be about right for when I started the dog training side of things. I mean, to give a little bit of context, I was homeschooled, right? I never actually went to proper school, so that allowed me a little bit of freedom in terms of, say, pursuing my own, what would you call it? Business, let's say.
Okay.
On the side of everything else. So that was a contributing factor to everything.
And being homeschooled.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of advantages to being homeschooled. There's a lot of disadvantages as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you I wasn't homeschooled, but I think that it kind of gives you a sense of independence. What do your parents do, or what are they, if you don't mind me asking?
What do you mean by what do they do?
Is one of them a teacher, or what did they do for a living? How do they make their living?
Yeah, well, my mother's a teacher.
Okay. Cool. Just trying to find out a little bit more about your background and motivate you, and also what was, the rearing, the as you were raised, so your dad's not in the animal world, or nobody's in the animal world. You just kind of stepped up and did this yourself.
Not at all. Like I said, it started with that first dog, that Doberman, that had some severe human aggression issues and dog aggression issues and separation anxiety. It started with her, and the fact that all of the trainers we went to were unsuccessful, let's say, in their attempts to resolve her issues.
Why did they say that they were unsuccessful?
Because they were unsuccessful.
Did they? I mean, I remember when I was a purely positive, force-free trainer when I first started, right? And I just remember saying to myself and my clients, "This should work." and just thinking, why isn't this working?
Right.
Right. And what I find, the reason I ask is that a lot of trainers, when things don't work, they put the onus, they put the blame on the human counterpart. And they say, it's your
On
fault.
the
You're
owner,
not doing
right?
it right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm.
So did you experience that, or is just they just were hired and then
Look, the ideas that they came up with, almost all of them, looking back now, seem quite ridiculous in a lot of ways. And we went to different trainers from different sides of the various camps in dog training. Right, we went to a lot of trainers with this dog. Some on the really extreme end of things in terms of more harsh utilization of aversive stimuli in dog training, and some on the more extreme end of things in the opposite direction in terms of positive reinforcement-based training, etc. And then many other dog trainers in the middle. And the ideas that they were coming up with and what it was that they were doing was just unsuccessful with them, unsuccessful with us, and unsuccessful in general. So then I suppose that was what propelled me to research things further myself and to try and become a better dog trainer, let's say.
Yeah, figure it out. Figure it out. You got something that is obviously not working, and so there's a vacuum. There's a gap in either the understanding, the application, that leads to an outcome that is not successful.
That's it.
And so then so how did you find trainers? How did you find people? You said that you've learned from people that you regret. And for me, for instance, I would let the dog show me. And so we go to these conferences, and back in 2010, 16 years ago, I was at this IACP, International Association of Canine Professionals, and they have a conference here, and is at a training facility. And the beautiful thing about these conferences is that you can bring dogs. And I watched people's dogs, and I remember watching this Rottweiler in this crazy room full of people, full of other dogs, and the dog was just super chill and listening to this owner. And I remember watching another dog doing a heel with another trainer, and I just remember thinking to myself, that's what I want. These are the people that I want to learn from. And so was it the same for you when you started to seek out mentors or people to learn from?
Sure, absolutely. You've got to look at trainers' dogs, and I mean that's the thing is, right? If you're saying that you're a good trainer, then you've got to prove it in some way, and you can prove that in various different ways. It doesn't have to be on social media with video proof. Sure, it doesn't have to be that, but you've got to prove it in some way. Otherwise, how do you expect people to actually believe that you can achieve the things that you say you can believe? Whether that's in competition, you can show that you can prove what it is you do by competing with dogs and showing a high level of excellence in whatever it is you do by competing in some kind of sport. You could also show it by a social media video proof, although that's maybe, you could maybe say that's not quite as good a piece of evidence, let's say, as say competition, because, well, with social media there comes selective editing and so many other factors into it with the social media videos. So, but even still, video proof should be the the basic. Yeah, exactly. Social media videos prove nothing. Well, it depends how they're done. But they prove something, right? They do prove something. And when you talk to a trainer that has zero proof at all, no videos on social media, no success in competing in competition, then, well, how do you expect to believe anything of what they say?
Yeah, and I agree too. Like there's some what I like is I like unedited. That's why I do live streams, man. I don't edit these things. I don't I'm talking about for content
Right.
is I do want to get through if we have an awkward moment or whatever, I want to experience that. If we have stream of consciousness, if I'm saying a lot, which I did especially, and I still do at the beginning of my videos, I would count how many ums I said. And it just you become more aware of it, but especially during competitions. The gentleman that's standing out in my head is Fred Hassan when he does his PSA videos or IGP videos. Those are in the moment; they're not edited, and people are asking to nothing. I think that there are some things that it can prove. But I think that people rely too much on those videos, and it's also that's why it's important.
Well, I mean, look. It's better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
If you either have no videos or you have videos, and well, videos are better than nothing. And for us pet dog trainers who don't compete, then videos mean something, right?
Yep. Well, and then we have testimonials. We have different videos that not only as a dog, but also people reviewing and giving their own videos. I don't typically I need to, and I do a little bit more training on my Patreon. I've kind of dropped the ball on this service dog that I trained, where I did about half of it. I need to go and make these videos on my my film editing that I've been learning, and just update people. But the fact is that the service dog is home. I'm talking with the family, and it's also, I think it's important to know that people can say anything, and people just believe them. And it reminds me of, you just had this interview with what's his name, Bangura. And I like the fact that you were asking for the evidence of 24,000 dogs.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like, if you claim to have trained 24,000 dogs, then you've got to have at least some evidence of training dogs. Yeah, I mean.
And how many years did he say that he did that?
I don't know. I think it was something like 30 to 35 years or maybe longer even.
4,030 years. Here, let's just do. I mean, I'm just trying, because that's what you started to do.
Yeah. But the thing is, as well, is like with the Bangura interview, I really wasn't looking to do some kind of gotcha interview. It was more like, I was just going over things that he said in the past, like the Taliban comment that he made, for example, where he compared balanced dog trainers who utilize aversive stimuli, however judiciously they utilize it, to the Taliban. And I was just asking him to say, clarify and go over those comments that he's made in the past. That was really what I was trying to do in the interview.
Well, I liked it. I like the fact that you're pointing out the absurdness of his stance and his claims. I just did the numbers, and it looks like 24,000 units.
It's about 6 or 7, 5 to 7 dogs per day for a decade, constantly. That's a lot. That's a lot of dogs, and
well, even 30 years, every single day.
You've trained that yourself. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah, 2.19 units per day on a 365-year calendar, and if you were to take weekends off and do 260 days, so that's every single day. That's Christmas, that's Easter, that's and it's training this dog every single day, right? And so I applaud you, and I was just like, if this guy is so readily talking about how making these claims that are so absurd, why do we look at him as an authority of other subjects? Like, it's you just disqualified yourself, in my opinion, when you start to
like I said to Bagura, I said, look, when big claims are made, there's got to be some evidence to fall back on behind those claims.
Well, and I don't know much about him, but I found out a lot in that 1-hour interview that you did, and I found out I don't want anything to do with him. And I was speaking to Ivan, and I'm not interested in speaking to him based on your experience with him. It's like, right. I think that he's full of it. I think he's like you said, you're making big claims, and he's also making big claims about how to work with dogs. And the thing is that I think that it's a snapshot, and we need to pay attention to this, especially in the US, because he is in the US, he's in Arizona, and he outright wants to ban prong collars. He outright wants to ban e-collars and aversives. And I think that it's very important.
The thing is, though, is that the conversation has to continue. Even though you find his position, let's say, absurd and really very different to the way that you view dog training, let's say, the conversation has to continue, because when conversation stops, that's when things get ugly.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to have these conversations, no matter how much we disagree with whoever it is we're speaking to.
Well, and the other thing too is that I know that if I had a conversation, it'd be about 5 minutes, because just like he was doing with you with the timeout, we're almost finished here. Like once you're faced with a true challenge, a lot of times they'll just give up. They'll disappear. And I don't want to placate that. I want to challenge, and I want to hold and stay on subject and get an answer. And if they don't answer, if they dance around it, I want to revisit it and just be like, look, I didn't get an answer for this. And if it upsets you, then go ahead and get upset. But the fact remains is that this is the question that's being asked, and the answer has still not been provided.
Yeah, I mean, that was the important part of my view. Is I wasn't going to shy away from the questions that might be uncomfortable or offend William Wenger in any way. And I don't shy away from questions with any of my guests. It's really, yeah, that's the way I do things.
Well, the thing is too is I like this. You can't have a conversation who supports by initiating force against you. Well, I think that you can't have a conversation. So, do you know what?
You can have a conversation, but you can disagree with their stance. I think you can have a conversation with anyone, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a little static coming through. I don't know if it's on your mic. Maybe bump the mic a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. There. Yeah, it was rubbing against your shirt, I think.
Okay.
Or something. Yeah, just tilt it out just a little bit. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is so do you know what? Are you familiar with etymology? Dude, I think keeps giving me a heads up or thumbs up. Do you know what etymology is?
No.
Etymology is the study of words, of how we speak, and get into like roots and definitions. Greek and Latin in the English language are where we trace back a lot of our words to. And then, do you know what epistemology is?
No, explain it to me. Sure.
It's epistemology is the study of knowledge. Right. So we have epistemology, and within epistemology, we have etymology of the words that we use. And the reason I say this is because he says still static, but I don't hear it.
Okay. Let me
might need to restart it. And the reason I say that, Andy, is the word that you use here is force. Right. And when we look at etymology of the word force versus the etymology of the word violence. Right. And so violence comes from the root vio, to violate. And so I think that force is a necessary part of life, and we are going to endure force. I mean, just by standing here, I'm enduring the force of gravity. Right. There's a lot of ways that we are existing in this world that we cannot avoid force. And so I think that if somebody is interested in violating your right, violating your voice, violating, and that's basically what the only thing that I would take issue with is the word force. And Andy's awesome. So he says for a conversation to take place, both parties have the right to agree that interlocution is preferable to violence. Dude, interlocution. Let me look at this one.
You know what interlocution is? Some very big words here.
Interlocution. Let's see. I
thought I was a pretty articulate individual, but certainly not in comparison to all of you.
Well, it's also, so look at this, you guys. So great word, interlocution. So, and I hope I'm saying it right, but you're absolutely right, Andy. Is interlocution refers to the act of conversation, dialogue, or interchange of speech between two or more people. Right. And when we look at the word, even, and I'm getting into the etymology here, but so we have conversation, right? Let's look at that word. Conversation, it means to come together, convene, congregate, congress, right? And then we look at the word versara is change. And so conversa, or conversation, is coming together to change. Right. So that's why etymology is so cool, in my opinion. Once you start looking at the meaning of words and how we use them, it can change your whole perspective on the words to use, what not to use, and be very purposeful on exactly what we're trying to communicate. And I think that's a big problem in this industry, is that we use in the industry, my colleagues and we work with interspecies communication, but there's a lot of what I call wobbly words. What I say, like, for instance, positive only, positive reinforcement. When I say positive to somebody, they think that it's good. Yeah, you still have a little static going. They think it's good. And when you start to study behavior science, and we look at the term positive, it means adding something into the environment. And so having this interlocution, one willing, is important, and to come together and define terms, exactly what they mean, so both parties are on the same page, essentially, right? Because I can be saying one thing and it means something completely different to you. Yeah, right. One side was hard to have. Yep. And people get locked into these belief structures, man. And And that's my goal with these conversations with people, is to show them, but also to learn myself. You know, always be willing to change, always be willing to have dialogue, except for with that Bangura guy. I just talked to someone.
You know, Bill, you should have him on your podcast. That would be funny.
Okay, man, maybe I will.
Yeah,
I just don't know if he brings benefit to.
I will definitely watch it just for the fun of it.
Yeah, I'd have to prepare for him.
Yeah,
I think that he does a lot of steamrolling.
Yeah, he's certainly pretty good at the at answering questions and say getting out of difficult questions. But yeah, you've got to ask the difficult questions sometimes and not shy away from them, right?
Yeah, are you going to have him back on your show?
Probably not.
Is there anything about the interview that you did that you wish you did differently?
Is there anything about that interview that I wish I did differently? Well, I could have probably asked him harder questions.
Shut up, Larry. This looks from Appalachia. Larry's here. So, hey, Larry. Williams, 22.
Hello, Larry.
He's not from America, so he has no clue what you're talking about. Appalachia is like the backwoods of America. So he's saying that we look like, I don't know what you're saying, Larry. Tell us what you're saying, buddy. Yeah, and so Larry was your very first one. Speaking of Larry,
he was. Yeah, he was my first podcast guest, and
it's still.
I really enjoyed talking
for me. I don't know if it's
it's still
yeah, it's kind of worse. So maybe try it without the mic and see if just the video or the mic on the computer. And why did you pick Larry of all people in the world? He says, "What's up, William?"
What's up, Larry? Why did I pick Larry? Well, because I thought he was a really honest and down-to-earth individual, and I just really like I like him as an individual. You know, I like his videos and his Facebook and everything he does. You know, I thought he was a good first guest.
Can you hear the static on your end at all?
No, I can't. No.
Oh, it's pretty bad. It's gotten worse. Here, bump this. Let me make sure it's your mic. If it's not, the feeling is mutual. He says, bump your microphone. Let me make sure it's if it's that. Super static. Yeah, people are super static.
Let me unplug this and see if that changes anything. How does it sound now?
Super static still.
Still super static. Let's see. What can I do?
Almost a robot. Can you just use your mic on the computer?
Let me unplug it and I'll see if if you can still hear me.
Okay. No static yet, but I don't think I can hear you. You might need to go to the settings and then do oh, it says you're muted here. Let me see if I can mute you. Oh, it won't let me. Their mic isn't connected. But
here we go. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Hello.
Okay, static is gone.
Static.
Nope.
No?
Nope. Much better, dude. I would rather it be just like this than and I don't hear an echo, so that's good too because you don't have your headphones on.
No, well, there you go. Perfect.
Okay. So we'll do it like this. So Larry, so you started with Larry. And how did you find out about Larry? And what, I mean, he's just a down-to-earth person. He's got a ton of videos. How do you know about Larry, and what made you, I mean, you started, that was the genesis of your project.
Yeah, I mean, I've
I've seen Larry online for a long time. He's been on social media for quite a while now. He's been on YouTube, on Facebook. I've read his book. I've seen Larry all over the place, and I can see that his heart is in the right place. Right, he cares for the dogs, and that's where his heart is. So. That's why I had him on as the first guest on the podcast. I just thought, well, I'll reach out to him and see if he wants to come on, and if he does, then he'd be a great guest. And he was the first person. He was the first person who I reached out to, and I didn't reach out to anyone else. I messaged him, and he replied, and he said, "Hey, yeah, I'd be happy to come on your show," and that's what happened.
Fantastic. And then you've had how many episodes? 9 episodes. So you started with Larry and then Joe Rosie. So I want to have I haven't even had Joe Rosie on.
You have to have her on. She's a really
she's a good friend of mine.
Soda.
Yep, you've had some heavy hitters, man. Dave Croyer, Michael Ellis, Nate Schomer, my good buddy Nate. Michael Shikasio. I've had Michael on as well.
Let me say something. The next 2 episodes you're going to see are really spectacular. We've got an episode with the wonderful Dr. Jennifer Zalix, and if you haven't read her book, you have to read it. Animal Training 101. It's one of the best books there is on animal training in general. So if you haven't read that, you should definitely read it. But the podcast with her is really spectacular, and I went to meet her in person. We went and I went all the way to Oxford and had a conversation with her. Spent a whole day with her, and she's a really wonderful individual. And then we just recorded this morning with, there we go. That's the advert for it.
I wonder if you can hear this. Let me know if you can hear this.
Welcome back.
Yep, I can hear it.
One of the best trained sea lions in the world. Here we go. Here comes Saki.
Yeah, well, these guys are actually really closely related to dogs through a wolf-like ancestor. So
Really?
they have a lot in common with dogs. The male sea lions make a barking sound. It's like arr, arr, arr.
Can she make a bark?
Yeah, well, her sound sounds more like yelling, but here we go.
Timmy's stuck in the well.
Stretching.
Stretch.
Stretch a little neck. Good. And stretch the back. That's important. Good.
That's very good.
We're going to stretch out both front flippers. Here we go. There's one. There's another one. Good.
In a world where trust is earned and communication goes far beyond words, one woman has spent a lifetime building extraordinary connections between humans and animals. Today we welcome renowned animal trainer, author and teacher, Dr. Jennifer Zalix.
Awesome, William.
Yeah.
Great job.
I mean, that's the trailer for the episode, and we have a long conversation. I haven't released it yet, so it's going to be released on Tuesday. I hope. I think Tuesday it will be released, definitely. Maybe slightly before then, but either way, you'll see about it if you subscribe to the channel or subscribe to the Facebook. Follow me on Facebook. But that's a really fantastic conversation. We go into everything in there, and then just this morning I was talking to we had on the podcast. I've recorded this and it will be released in the next few weeks. Conversation with Catherine Burbelsing, which, for those of you who don't know, is Britain's strictest head teacher. She's all over the newspapers constantly, and in all the big name podcasts, Piers Morgan's show, and all Jordan Peterson's show, and all the big podcasts she's been on. But still, she's a really interesting individual, and it's interesting to see how the modern educational system parallels and intersects, let's say, with dog training and yeah.
It sounds like you are starting to evolve a little bit, William.
That's it.
It's starting to evolve to a content creator to bring about, content that people can learn from that aren't just dog trainers. Right?
Yeah. I mean, look, the podcast and everything I do is primarily aimed at dog trainers and those who are really dedicated dog owners. But yeah, it's all aimed at the dog training community. I've had a few guests on, and another podcast for people who want to watch it is the episode that I did with the neuroscientist, the world's best neuroscientist.
Let me see. Carl Friston.
Yeah, that's it. Carl Friston. Sorry, I was just checking something there. Yeah, Carl Friston, the world's best neuroscientist. Carl Friston. That was a really fantastic episode as well, and people should absolutely check that out. But I think it's an interesting way to go about the podcasting is to not just go to all of the big dog trainers, although it's great to have dog trainers on your show, and it's interesting, but going to other professionals and other people in different communities who have ideas and concepts that relate in some way to dog training. It doesn't have to be all dog trainers, and that was the idea from the very beginning of the podcast, was that I was going to have many different people on, not just dog trainers. Although I really, really like talking to dog trainers because they get me and I get them and we understand each other really well. I also really like talking to people from other different professions that have ideas that can contribute to dog training.
How do you find these people? And what is your, I guess, nudge when you want to talk to somebody like this? I've never heard of Catherine. What's her name? Verbal Singh. Verbal Singh. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're in the UK, you definitely have heard of her. She's in the newspapers all the time. She's Britain's strictest head teacher, or that's what they call her. Although, I went to her school today and it was just incredible to see how much the children enjoyed at school and just everything. It was really an incredible experience to go to her school and also to talk to her as well. How do I find these people? Well, it depends who it is. Catherine, I read her book and I watched her interviews, and then I contacted her via email for her school, and she was generous enough to invite me to come to her school and have a tour around her school and visit the whole place and then have a conversation with her. But yeah, it depends on who it is, really. How I get in touch with them and how I know them. A few of the guests I know already, but most of the guests that I have on the show, I really don't know until I actually interview them.
Yeah, that's what I like, actually, is not knowing anybody. Like, I don't know you. Didn't know you until we started chatting today, So how do you know, like, this is a person I want to talk to? Like, you talked about Catherine about how she's on Jordan Peterson and
Piers
And-
Morgan, and all these different shows. I mean, she's been on every podcast there is. I mean, or most of the podcasts that are out there. She's been on. Yeah, I mean, I read her book, and it seems that there were some parallels between what she's gone through and the attempts to say cancel her by the woke mob, let's say, and what we're going through in dog training with the force-free, ideologically possessed individuals, and how they attempt to say ban the way we train dogs, ban electric collars, ban prong collars, and so on. I mean, the collar that I would fight back against the most is going to be the electric collar, because I think that's really the most important training collar that we have in dog training, and the collar that is really very useful, especially for, say, predatory behaviors, right? Predatory chasing behaviors. It's really necessary to resolve those issues.
Wasn't there a challenge? Isn't there a challenge?
Yeah,
Wasn't there was some money behind it too?
yeah. And I mean, look, here's the thing, is that with these challenges, I really do believe that you could resolve these issues with many different dogs without using the electric collar, without using even any aversive stimuli. That's certainly the case. You could resolve a lot of these issues. But it's whether or not you can reliably do that. It's whether or not you can do that in an efficient manner, and whether or not you can do that with every single dog, because you might be able to do that with some dogs, but you can't do that with other dogs, or you can't do it as efficiently, right? If it takes 2 years to achieve something, or a year to achieve something, well, then that's useless. That doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So
I don't think it's obtainable. I don't think that without some type of aversive, I mean, we're fighting against nature here. This is something that is the prey drive is inherently present in some dogs, and we are asking these dogs to exist in a human world, right?
Yeah.
And where they're going to encounter, and if we don't have a way to provide clear boundaries in a very effective and efficient manner, we're just waiting. We're setting it up for failure, right? And not only that, but if it takes two years to achieve this without any mistakes, what happens once that mistake happens, right? There's a mistake that's going to happen. That's what I always tell my. It can be done quickly and reliably without those tools. Oh. Jedi Master Dog Training Challenge. Yeah, there is.
What is this?
I don't think it can be done quickly and reliably without the tools. I disagree with Dog Walk Rehab.
Full-stream mob. But look, if it can be done quickly and reliably without, say, the use of electric collars or whatever kind of aversive control, then show it. Show it. Because if you show it, then we'll all change immediately. Like, I will change in an instant. I will become the force-free maniac, the biggest force-free dog trainer in the world. If you can show that this is effective and it's efficient and all of the rest of it. So please, here's the thing. I was invited into Will Bangura's group, and I've been in his group, in his force-free predatory chasing group.
Yeah, tell me about that. I was curious.
600 members it's got in there, and the first day that I joined it, he accepted me into there as a balanced dog trainer. He put up this post that said, "Hey, show all of your best videos, and I'll give $100 to the person who's got the best video of their dog not chasing prey animals, or say being under control with prey animals around. And not a single person posted in response to that in his group with 600 people, and he tagged me in the post so I could see it. I've looked through the group and I can't see anything that says to me, hey, there's even success here. And I'm not challenging the fact that there actually can be success without the use of aversive stimuli to resolve even these most extreme issues. What I'm actually challenging is how efficient it can be. If it takes 2 years or a year even, or 6 months even, then it's too long. By that point, the dog's gone. There's no point even thinking about the issue at that point. If it takes 6 months, a year, 2 years, it doesn't matter. In his group, there's not even examples of, well, from what I've seen, there's not even examples of just dogs having resolved the issue at all. So
no evidence of a grandiose claim. Interesting.
No.
Because
well,
and he said 100 are super active, and that there's tons of videos, and then you were like, well, show one, and he would not show it, and that's it. It's like, show the proof. Let's see the evidence. Let's because just like William says, you guys, like, we're not here. I don't use aversives because I like hurting dogs. In fact, even when I use an aversive, right, it doesn't feel good. It's not anything that I enjoy doing, but I know the importance of why I'm doing this, because it's going to save that dog's life someday. It's going to save with car chasing, with where the natural outcome, the consequences of exhibiting this behavior in the real world are going to be much more dire than an aversive that I can provide to teach the dog a lesson to not do that behavior.
Exactly. And with our own personal dogs, if it's our own personal dogs, we can take whatever strategy we like, and we don't have to care about it, because we can take 5 years to achieve something, and does it really matter? Not much. We're skilled trainers. We can manage the environment. We can do all sorts of things. But
when somebody hires you,
we'll do that just to experiment with different ideas and on options. But when it comes to clients' dogs and dealing with those issues, then we've really got to prioritize efficiency.
Yeah. Well, and we have to be ethical. And to me, it's unethical to make these claims that aren't backed up. They aren't backed up with truth. And not only that, but people are paying you. People are taking their hard-earned money and they're asking for help. Right. And it is in my opinion, it's not just our professional obligation, but our moral obligation to provide them the truth. And if something is much more effective and efficient in solving this problem that they're dealing with, then we owe it to them. But we also owe it to them to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of particular paths that we go down. And just like you said, like, sometimes this can resolve the issue, but we're looking at a 2-year timeline.
Exactly.
But if I slap this on the dog and we let him go for it and we hit him and let him realize that wasn't a good idea, I mean, we could be looking at a week or 2 weeks that this problem is behaved. If not, I've seen problems be solved in 2 days. I've had dogs where I've had to have a come to Jesus, I call it, with the dog that was it was an older lady, and it was a Jack Russell Terrier, and the dog was aggressive towards people that she was having over for guests as her guests, and he was a serious dog. And so I came in and I let the dog know that that's not a good idea to go after a human being, that a human being actually could provide them a substantial amount of correction that would make them rethink their choices. And the dog was like, okay, man, I'm cool. And no problem solved. Right. And so sometimes it is a come to Jesus. And I think of that old lady getting bit. I think about her guests getting bit. I think about one of my mentors, Bart Bellin, says that whenever we are looking at the saving the life of a human or causing damage of another human or another animal, that it is that we must inflict aversive. We must stop this behavior because it's saving the life of this dog, because the dog might be euthanized, and we're saving the outcome that
we've got to do whatever's necessary to stop that behavior.
Yeah. I'm not judging, but those tools aren't necessarily for most pet dog problems. Well, guess what, buddy?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. For most pet dog problems, sure.
Yeah,
sure. We can do loads of things without the electric collar. We can do loads of things without prong collars. Although, what I'm going to argue here is that the prong collar is the most ethical collar to choose out of every single different collar, whether it's the head halter, the halty, the gentle leader, whatever you want to call it, or the flat collar, or any other type of collar, the slip lead, the choke chain, whatever collar. The prong collar is the best option. It's the safest option. It's the most ethical option out of all of those, apart from the harness. Right, the harness is the safest and most ethical option. However, what does the harness lack? It lacks the ability to be able to control the dog effectively, and that's what the prong collar provides, while also being more ethical, more efficient, and safer in every way than all of the tools that I've listed just now, the flat collar, the halties, the slip leads, etc. So, in my opinion, every single dog should be wearing a prong collar, but yeah, that's just my opinion. Look, the prong collars look nasty. They look they look like medieval torture devices. That's absolutely for certain. But yeah, they certainly are.
Well, a couple things that pop up as we were talking. One of my first mentors when I was a young child and working with the dog, he said to me, "Bill, you have control of the head, you have control of the dog." Right. And it is about an aspect of control, especially when we're looking at training this dog. But my mark of a trained dog is off leash reliability. Right. Because just like, and even says perhaps non-physical, the safest and most ethical option. I mean, but non-physical. I mean, you have to get physical. Dogs are physical creatures, man. They touch space. I mean, there's a lot of different options, but absolutely, what I want to get to is a non-physical relationship where I have. But even when my dogs are off leash, man, I'm petting them, I'm touching them, I'm if I need to pull them out of a way of something, I want them comfortable with my guidance, and that comes through training, and that comes through the tools that you use. I use e-collars. I mean, even my dogs, I'll use e-collars. I don't rely on every single dog needing an e-collar. It's up to my clients. But I sure like it when I can trust my dog that I'm in and I can see my dog that's, so these e-collars are half a mile away. So my dog goes away and I can talk to him from a very, very far distance. As far as corrections, non-physical corrections,
there is a real over-reliance on the electric collar.
Yes.
And that's important. Is like, there's too many trainers that are just going around and too many dog owners for that matter that are just using the electric collar all over the place. They're using it for every obedience command. They're using it for every behavioral problem, and that's not good. That's not good. I really don't think that's the way to go about using the electric collar. You shouldn't have to rely on this tool. You should be able to use it as a training tool and then remove it and no longer need to use it. Although, I'm starting to, some people I know, they're like, hey, well, we use the electric collar as a seatbelt, as a safety mechanism, as if something goes wrong, then we'll use it. And I can really understand that, and I want my dogs to feel safe. I for my own personal dogs, when I take them out, they're not wearing the electric collar at all. But I can understand the argument, which is we want our dogs to be as safe as possible, and therefore we're going to have our electric collars on all the time, fully charged, and we're going to be ready to go. If anything happens, if anything goes wrong, then we're able to have the extra level of control over our dogs. And I really do understand that. But it's when you're using the electric collar all the time. Like once you've trained a dog, you shouldn't be using the electric collar ever. Like maybe if you've got it as a safety seatbelt mechanism thing, then you should use it, say, every 2 years. Maybe you need to use it. Once you've trained with it, then that should be it, right? You've trained the recall with the electric collar. That's it. You don't need it anymore. Sure, if you want to keep it on as a safety seatbelt mechanism thing, then go ahead, use it as that. I have no problem with that. But if you're using that as an excuse for your over-reliance on it, where you have to use it every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, whatever, then no, it's not a safety seatbelt. It's you're reliant on that electric collar, because if you didn't have that electric collar on your dog, then your dog would no longer come back to you when you call it, or whatever it is that you're trying to get it to do.
Yeah, and then but at the end of the day too, man, like I have my dogs and people have their dogs, and they ask me all the time, can my dog sleep in bed? I'm like, dude, it's your dog, as long as it's not a problem. If they want to take their dog out, like that's the beauty about knowing the advantages and disadvantages of using the collar. By relying too much on the collar is going to malfunction. The collar is going to come loose. The collar is not going to make contact. There's certain times that the whatever's drawing that dog's attention is going to be much more important.
It's also like even with the contact thing, it's like this obsession with, oh yeah, we've got to have the electric collar super tight, and it's got to have this high level of contact.
Training is not.
We can have it a little bit looser, and we can just use a higher level, right? We can have the electric collar looser, use a high level. We don't need to have this high level of contact all of the time, so that the dog can feel the tiniest level of stimulation that we use,
Well, and just the tight collar can be a form of stimulation itself, and not only that, but then we have nickel plated points that can lead to necrosis from leaving the collar on too long, and then we have sensitive skin issues. There's a lot of factors, and I love what Andy just said about training is what happens between the dog's ears, not around his neck. And I'm on the same token. Like I don't like relying on any tools. Like I like my dogs to be naked. I like them to be, even without a collar, a flat collar on, right? I can have my dogs out in the field. I call them all to me. Boom, they come to me. I don't want the dog to respect a tool or treat more than they respect the relationship that I have with them and respect me as their owner. But also, it's just not the same with everybody. Some people want that extra layer of security. Some people want that extra form of
like
communication.
I
You know,
say, I actually understand
be the tool. That's right.
that
In a good
argument
way.
more and more right now. You know, I'm even thinking right now of putting the electric collars back on my dogs and saying, right, this is your safety seatbelt. Because I really do understand that argument, very much so. But it's sure, if it's a safety seatbelt, absolutely. But if you're reliant on the collar to where you need to use it every now and then, you need to use it every week or every 2 weeks or whatever, then that's a problem. And yeah.
Well, and if you think that this has got to be, I mean, I love the e-collars. I mean, I do. I have them for my own personal dogs, but I mean, I still have them on the table there. They haven't, I mean, my dog Alder, and there's certain dogs that I have that I'm just like, man, this dog has a high prey drive. This dog has, and we have bunnies or whatever it is that are going to take off through. I have 5.5 acres here, but then I also have a forest right around me. And some of these bunnies will take off through that forest, and then the dog is, you know, out of there. And I've experienced it before. And so, and then even, you know, calling them back, they do come back, but not in the moment that I would like. And so it's good to have that precise way of communicating to that dog that kind of cuts through that noise of dude, I'm gonna go get this bunny or deer. Like my dogs are less than 20 pounds. The pack that I have now, they're all skipper keys and smaller dogs. I can definitely be hurt if they go after a deer and the deer tramples them or something like that. And so and not only that, but they can run far away out of the range of the collar. And so that's why it's good to have that form of communication where I can get on that dog right now, and then to know which dogs. And that's the beauty of I think that we need to fall back on the relationship aspect, knowing the dog, knowing what motivates them, and that comes through play, which we can talk about a little bit too, and having a real relationship with that dog, that the dog respects you, but also we have a way to cut through the noise to get that dog's attention when it needs to happen in case of emergency or something that happens in the environment that is out of our control.
Yeah, well,
yeah, good point. He says that and this is the thing is that I do the foundation work where I train the dogs without a collar, and so the dogs know the commands, and then I pair the collar once the dog has a foundation of the commands being known.
One of mine, formerly human aggressive, very high prey drive, wears an e-collar for off-leash time, but she wasn't trained using it. Well, I don't really.
So she was trained
I
the
don't
commands.
really understand what that means. So she wasn't trained using it.
She was trained the commands without the e-collar, but once all the leashes and everything comes off, then we have an extra layer of communication with that dog. So even though initially the dog wasn't trained using the e-collar, then we overlay the e-collar with the commands or having a way to talk to the dog to let the dog know, hey, look, this stimulus is coming from me. And so now the dog knows that we're talking to them in case they start acting up off leash. Insurance, he says.
Right. Yeah, well,
makes sense to me.
Yeah,
makes perfect sense. But and that's a beautiful thing about us all being different people, wants and desires as individual human beings. And we have to understand that each dog has wants and desires as a sentient creature as well. And to have an eclectic knowledge base, especially in the dog training world. And that's one of the things that I love about you going outside of the purview of just not speaking to dog trainers, but talking to other professionals, that what they study, what they speak about can lend itself to help dog trainers understand further.
Yeah. I mean, the past two podcasts that I've had, these are in-person podcasts, and I think a lot of people are going to really benefit from them. especially the one with Dr. Jennifer Leaks. I mean, this is a really fantastic podcast. When they get released, really, there's people are going to benefit from that a lot. But even the show with the neuroscientist Carl Friston, that was a really good show, and we covered a lot in there, and that's got a lot of benefit in there.
What are some of your biggest takeaways from Carl?
What are some of my biggest takeaways from Carl? Well, I don't know. I mean, look, we'll give a basic takeaway for anyone who's watching right now, and that is to understand that forward conditioning within classical conditioning is the optimal route to success. And the reason why that is because the brain is a prediction machine, and it seeks to reduce uncertainty about the world. And I mean, that's the basic reason why forward conditioning is the way to go versus, say, simultaneous or backwards conditioning. Yeah. So there's one reason why, and what Carl says is really relevant to dog training.
Excuse me. I remember. Did you listen to the podcast I did with Ivan recently?
I listened to part of it, but I didn't listen to the whole thing, though.
Yeah, it was 4.5 hours long, the longest podcast I did.
Quite a long one. Yeah.
Well, and he talked about forward conditioning, and he put up an analogy of, like, look, you're driving in a car and you're about ready to go off a cliff, right? And so what happens with the sign that says there's a cliff right there at the cliff, right when you're going off, like you're going off that cliff because you don't have time to stop, right? And so, and then we talked about, now imagine that there's a sign before that, and then a sign a little bit, or a sign way above on the road that lets you know there's a cliff upcoming, and then there's a sign that allows ample opportunity for you to stop, and then there's a big sign flashing lights at the cliff. And that's kind of like that forward conditioning, like letting the dog know, let the dog make the decision, and knowing that if they continue down this path, that there will be severe consequences that happens. And so that's and we talked about a couple of other analogies, but I absolutely agree. Now, what are some of the, I mean, how have you changed, and what are some of the takeaways that you've had doing these podcasts? What have you learned as far as, I don't know, dealing with people and preparing for these podcasts, and you do editing of them, and now you're doing them in person?
Yeah, well, I don't actually do the, well, at least recently, I'm not doing the editing for the show. Someone else is doing some of the editing for the podcast. But that's why you'll see an improvement in production quality, is that it's no longer me just doing it all on my own. So what have I learned? Well, I've learned a lot of things, so it's hard to really pick one item, one thing in particular that I've learned from all of the podcasts that I've done. But what I can say is that the podcast with Carl Friston, I think that was maybe the most informative podcast that I've had so far, in terms of the knowledge and benefits that have come from that. Although the one with Jennifer Leaks, yeah, maybe that's actually better. When you watch that, you're all gonna really enjoy that a lot. You see as well, I think that when you have a podcast, when you have a conversation in person, I think there's a real difference there, and there's a real benefit from that in-person communication, and that doesn't come from over the internet. It's there is definitely a difference. There is definitely a difference there.
Do you set up your own studio there? Do you invite her to a place, or is it how do you do the on the fly?
Well,
How do you
for Jennifer's Leaks, I just said, hey, I've heard you've moved to Oxford, and let's do an in-person podcast. And she said, yeah, sure, that'd be great. And I went down and we recorded it in Oxford. That was actually the first time I went to Oxford. It was a really nice place, really nice part of England. But she had a really nice house as well. It was really nice. Just the whole day visiting her.
Do you bring your own cameras and set up each
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 cameras? How does that work?
Well, I've got 2 cameras, so we've got 2 proper professional cameras. We've got one that's really good, and that's a proper cinema camera, and that's the one that I focus on the person who's speaking, so Jennifer or whoever else is speaking. And then I've got another one that's just kind of it's a good camera, but it's not as good as the cinema camera. And then we have the microphones, and we have one lavalier microphone and one podcast style microphone. So yeah, that's the setup. And then we have a few lights as well for the lighting setup. But yeah.
And is it you have help that or do you just go there by yourself, set it up and?
Yeah, I go there by myself.
Fantastic. And then you take all the footage and then take it to your editor, and then they kind of chop it up, or
that's it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it. I've sent it all to my editor. Like I say, the one with Jennifer's Legs, that's going to be out on Tuesday. That'll definitely be out by Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you know anything about Jennifer's Legs? Have you read her book or anything? No?
Nope, never heard of her.
Wow, that's incredible. That's really incredible.
That's what's cool about these podcasts is that
really weird how many people in the dog training world have not heard of her and haven't read her book and so on. I mean, like her book, Animal Training 101, is just absolutely incredible, and I guarantee it's really good. And I guarantee if you read it, Bill, you'll really enjoy it. You'll really think that it's quite something.
Animal Training 101. Jennifer's Legs. Here, let me see this. And I think, you know what? I've seen this book.
Yeah?
I've seen the book. Oh, how big is this book? It's like $50 or $45 here in America.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah, let me show it here. I'll put up a link in the comments.
It's around 300 to 400 pages.
That's not bad. Wonder why it's so expensive here. Here, let me see.
It's a really awesome book, and it kind of touches on every single subject in dog training. And I'm not connected to the book at all, but everyone that comes to me, when someone contacts me and they say, "Hey, where should I get started in dog training?" or anything like that, I immediately refer them to Animal Training 101. I think it's the place to go.
I'll have to ask Joel or anybody that I know that does the animal training for other animals if they know about Jennifer here. And it also could be because she's in the UK, right?
No, she was in California. She was in California for a very long time, and then I think her marine mammal center closed in California, and then she moved down to Oxford in England, and that's where I met her, and we talked for quite a while.
Interesting. I'll check it out.
Yeah,
I'll check it out. I'll see if I can find it for less than $45, but
I mean, Ivan, your friend Ivan Balabanov, he's had her on his podcast.
okay, I'll watch it.
It's she's a really incredible individual for a lot of different reasons. But
Any other books that you recommend?
any other books I recommend? Well, there's a lot of books I recommend. Let's see. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of J.E.R. Stalin's book, Adaptive Behavior and Learning.
Adaptive behavior and learning. Let me see here. Behavior.
Actually, I'm going to get him on the podcast soon as well. Or I'm going to contact him and see if he wants to come on the podcast. We're going to see if that's what he'd like to do.
Oh, cool. I like this one. Adaptive behavior is of two types only. Either an animal comes equipped with heredity with the ability to identify situations in which a built-in response is appropriate, or it has mechanisms allowing it to adapt to its behavior in situations in which the correct response cannot be predicted. Adaptive behavior is the second type that comes through natural selection, which weeds out individuals and identifies situations inaccurately or respond inappropriately. Interesting. Huh. Dude, that's why I'm glad I asked. I'm ordering this book right now. Please hold. Oh, wait, no, my wife has more stuff. But any other books? Are you familiar with, what do you think? Have you ever heard of Bill Keeler? Or they call him, I guess, Kohler is how it's spelled?
Yes, yeah. I am.
What are your thoughts on Bill Keeler?
Yeah, well, he was a stepping stone in modern dog training, and
Do you know much about him?
certain benefits from him. Yeah, I've read his books, and yeah.
Okay. What do you think about his books?
Well, there's something. I don't want to say one way or another. There's
It's a little harsh.
there's a lot in his books that say we wouldn't do today in dog training, but sure, the principles are fine, and it's good for any dog trainers to read the books that have been historically significant in dog training, whether that's Conrad Most or William Chandler or Karen Pryor or whoever it is. It's good for trainers to read all of these different books and to try and to get a history of dog training. I mean, even with Conrad Most, he proposed ideas and principles, let's say, of operant conditioning, instrumental conditioning, before operant conditioning was a thing. So he was a dog trainer and he was proposing these things, and so it's good to understand, to have a read of all of the different significant books in dog training history.
Yes. Well, I mean, we got to remember too that I think that it's very valuable, especially for people that think that they're reinventing the wheel, that these ideas have been around for generations and generations.
Right.
And to
But it's
that's
also
what I-
it's also important to understand that we've changed a lot, and we've modern dog training today is far better and far beyond what Conrad Most was proposing, or William Chandler was proposing, or even Karen Pryor was writing about. But it's good to have a read of all of these different trainers and all of these different influential dog trainers.
Well, I think that it's also, this is what I'm talking about, having that eclectic knowledge base. And having, there's, even though you said at the beginning of our talk here that there's people that maybe you regret learning from, but even those people that we regret learning from provided some pearls of wisdom. And even if the pearls of wisdom is that they're full of shit, it's good to know and good to learn everybody, and to come without expectations, to allow the information to change you, right? And so that's the beauty of it. And I have I just purchased this book that you just recommended with what's his name, the Adaptive Behavior and Learning. I just placed that book here. You can see I got it. I'll be reading it. It'll be delivered here on the 22nd or 26th, excuse me. And that's what I'm always recommending people read, learn.
Beautiful.
Never stop learning, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's a difficult book to read. It's not.
A lot of the training books are. I have a whole bookshelf. None of them are in here.
For those who are beginner trainers, or for those who, the place I would recommend starting with is Animal Training 101. And I genuinely mean that. It's not just because Jennifer Zalix has come on my podcast that I'm suddenly promoting her book. I've been promoting her book for a number of years now, because I really do believe that is the place to start. And it's not to say that there are certain parts of her book that I disagree with personally. There certainly are. But on the whole, it gives a really good fundamental base of knowledge that people can build on if they read that book.
I think I'm going to reach out to her.
Yeah, you should. Have her on your podcast. She's a really, really fantastic individual, and she doesn't get enough recognition for what she's done for the book that she's written. I mean, she's written 2 books. She's written Animal Training 101 and what is it called? The Zen Art of Training Animals. I can't remember what the other book was called because I haven't read it. But
Mindful Partners: The Zen Art and Science of Working with Animals.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sure both of them are good. I've read the Animal Training 101, and I've read a little bit of the Zen one from when she showed me the book. But they're all good. She doesn't get enough recognition, and it would be good if more dog trainers became familiar with her, especially the newer dog trainers who are new to dog training. If they just learned, if they just read her books alone, they really do quite well. And she's also got an online course and all sorts of things. But listen to the podcast with her, and you'll get loads of benefit out of that. But so Bill, what's your dog training backstory? Because I really don't know anything about you at all.
Oh yeah, we're gonna switch it around here, huh?
Yeah.
I started working with dogs when I was, 8 years old.
Yeah.
I'm 50 now. right? And so and it was, I mean, at first it was yank and crank as my puppy, right? I went to a first class and I just knew that there was a better way to do this. Like it didn't feel good for me. And I have just been I started my Bow Wow Bill business in 2007 here in Seattle. And I guess just like the dog walker, we have a dog walker rehab gentleman here, is that I would do dog walks. Like I would have, I would work with the dogs, and then I would invite them to come on the dog walk with me at a big van, and kind of keep up the rapport with the dog and with my clients, and also have a revenue stream. And that allowed me to purchase a nice big ranch up here. So I live on a few acres up here that I bought this place, and started to do board and trains and have people come to my ranch here to do the classes. And I've shied away. I don't do board and trains anymore. I do maybe one or two a year. And I charge a lot of money to do that because it is quite the commitment. And
how long on average do you do your board?
I like to do a board and train for 3 months starting.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's quite a commitment.
Yeah, that's what I say. And it's going to be, it's definitely, I mean, 12,000 and up, right? What I charge to train for a board and train dog, right? Because they're going to be a polished, trained dog. And then I spend an integration process with the family for about 3 days. And I do it all over the country. And so I'll fly a dog to a place and stay with the family. And that's another thing that I'll do, is that I'll actually go on location with my clients all over the place and work with any problem behavior that they have. I don't rely on an e-collar. I rely on clear communication. I rely on repetition. I do love positive reinforcement. I love figuring out what motivates the dog, and forming a good, solid relationship with them. So if I do have a dog that's coming to me for a board and train, I'm just hanging with them. Getting to know them, letting me get to know me. Once they start offering some signs that they are cool with me, then we start with the training process. I typically, when I do a green dog, I like to do long line work. I do use a chain collar. I don't use a prong. I do use a chain just so it doesn't pop off the dog's head. I like the sound that a chain makes, click, 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 when it's getting tight. I use prongs. I use e-collars. I'll use slip leads. The only thing with the slip lead is that I don't like that it doesn't have a noise. So it's like zip, 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 zip. Like it doesn't have an indication to let the dog know whenever the leash is getting tight.
Also as well, I mean, with the slip lead, it's physically more dangerous than the prong collar. Right. I mean, the prong collar looks scarier, but the truth is that it distributes pressure very equally around the neck of the dog, versus, say, the slip lead or the choke chain or whatever kind of collar. And then with the halties or the head halters or the gentle leaders or whatever you want to call them, you've got some risk of, say, spinal injury. So yeah, I mean, for me, the prong collar seems like the obvious choice.
Yep. I use a prong probably. For me, it's a chain. I use a chain, and just so it doesn't pop off the dog's head. Yep, absolutely. And then through repetition, and that's it. Like I work on a series of. The first thing that we teach the dog is leash skills, and then we teach them. I do like to adhere to AKC standards of obedience for novice obedience. And so I do a heel, sit, down, stand, stand stay, down stay,
That's
and sit
the
stay.
American Kennel Club, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
if I do have a dog, ideally, and then we could focus on the open or advanced trainings of retrieve, jumping over an object, coming back to you, things like that, but it's all I adhere to those standards because I like how we start the training and then we build on that training as we go further along. And that's also why I like the 3-month time window, 12 weeks. And so it just fits nicely. I do Tony Anchetta, who does the Keeler method of dog training, is definitely somebody that I is a good mentor of mine. I also have learned from Bart Bellin, Michael Bellin. I've learned from a number of different trainers, and but I would say that Keeler is probably my mother language.
Yeah.
Is that,
I mean,
is
you're a NAPOPO certified trainer, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I am. I'm not a gold multiplicator anymore, but I still have love for the system. I don't think that it's necessarily. I like to understand NAPOPO, so it is like the gasoline that we put on, or the ignition, what they call. And a lot of times my pet clients have inadvertently used NAPOPO. The thing is too, William, is that NAPOPO, Keeler, all these different philosophies, they're the same. It's just called different things and just applied, and you can extrapolate what you know and realize that, oh, okay, this is the same exact thing that they're talking about. They just call it something different.
What do you mean by that? So what is NAPOPO in a nutshell?
NAPOPO is a system derived by Bart and Michael Bellin. It stands for negative, positive, positive. That uses classical and operant conditioning to bring a dog to do on cue every time with heart and soul.
But right, I mean, but to bring a dog on cue with heart and soul is like, well, and is developed by Michael and Bart Bellin. Yeah, I mean, sure. But what else is there to it? So in terms of the actual training system itself.
Well, it's going through. That's what I like about NAPOPO, is that it talks about. I mean, it's quadrantly based heavily, right? And so positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment. How to use use the quadrants. What the advantages of just using one versus using negative reinforcement, and in conjunction, using positive punishment, using negative punishment. Advantages and disadvantages of each system. They don't really endorse any of them, but they talk about all of them. And in my opinion, it's a good system. The system is legit, but it isn't necessarily for pet people. It's for people that are passionate about dogs, that are competing in dog sports. And then they also have a collar that they have with the Martin system, the chameleon collar that they use. That is,
I mean, that
cool.
Martin Systems collar is probably one of the best electric collars.
It is the very best,
right?
Because it has the
very good electric collar.
Yeah. It's just expensive, and a lot of times they're a lot out of the budget for especially pet dog people. But if you're passionate and want to put in a lot of money, you buy the best equipment that you have, and
yeah, absolutely. With NAPOPO, it's probably a controversial issue to talk about.
I mean, it's not. They've dealt with some issues lately, but it's also the system is legit once you start to understand it. It does bring about ignition. It does help the dog. But there are holes in it, just like when I was talking to Ivan about it and the questions that he was asking, and that's one of the goals, is to learn more from Ivan. And but I do know that Bart and Michael and Ivan, they all love dogs. They love their personal dogs, and that's I think more what's important with people. And you know, I'm not a Napopo, and that's not just what I do. In fact, I was training dogs long before I went through the schools, and I taught a couple classes. I think it's more physically dangerous when a prong collar pops and the dog gets loose. Yep. Yep. That's the only reason why I use a chain collar, is that I can't. I've had prong collars pop on me all the time. You know, I just had one recently with the poodle that was wearing a prong collar. Pulled it, boom, pop, collar popped off, and the dog was trained, so it was fine. But I just have to have.
There's a number of solutions to that. I mean, one is that, you know, you have one of those what do you call it, links to from prong to flat collar.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like there's a carabiner or something.
Yeah, that's it. So there's one solution to it, but another is that, well, you have enough of the, let's say, rapport and cooperation from the dog, that if they do get loose, then you have other means of controlling their behavior, not just the prong collar itself. So there's a few different ways of getting around that minor issue. I'd say that prong collars pop very unregulate in terms of how often they pop open and the dog's able to escape. But if this is a dog that you need to control in this way, then either you use some kind of link to a flat collar or harness, or you just walk them up on a flat collar or harness. Like here's the thing: is when dogs come to me in the beginning, when they first come to me for training, they're not getting walked on a prong collar; they're getting walked on a harness. And they're getting walked on a harness for a few weeks, typically. And that's really because I need that time to be able to build some rapport and some trust and some cooperation, some level of motivation to do things with me in that time, in the first few weeks that I start training a dog, before I start saying, hey, you've got to stop doing this, or you've got to do this when I say you do this, right? I need to build all of the relationship first before I start implementing aversive control. So when a dog first comes to me for training, they're on a harness the whole time.
Interesting.
Or a wide buckle flat collar, one of the two.
Okay. Yeah, I don't use harnesses at all, except for when I want the dog to pull. Nope. Yep. I'll have the dog unless I'm doing tracking or trailing, and I want that dog to actually pull me. Otherwise, it's a chain 15-foot line, and I don't say a word to the dog. I do it completely silent and let the dog figure out.
It's really important to. I think it's really important to develop a proper relationship with the dog first before you try and implement any kind of aversive control with the dog. I think that's the what should come first is the development of a relationship that's based on motivation to cooperate harmoniously with you, before you before you try and do any kind of aversive control. But
Yeah, relationship is key. And I do form a relationship with the dog, but I let the dog I let the dog experience the world, let them sniff around, let them do whatever. They just have a 15-foot line on, and then I'm kind of like the anchor at the end of that line.
Sure.
And so if they were to take off or go, like, I can't have that dog pop out. I can't have the dog get loose.
How important is play to you?
Oh, very important.
Yeah?
Very important. Absolutely. Absolutely. But there is also an aspect of, there's play, but there's also obedience too. Right. And so it's not all fun and games. There is a time that I need you to listen. There is a time that we are going to encounter things that might be uncomfortable for you in the human world that we exist. Moving traffic, crowds, other dogs, doorways sliding open and closed, carts, skateboards, garbage cans that are rolling. There's going to be things that might evoke a sense of panic if the dog doesn't know. I've never experienced it. And so the dog needs to know that there is a time. I mean, it's just like with Jay Jack. Do you ever listen to Jay Jack?
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, me too.
Pretty good.
Great guy. I'll be with him next month in Portland, Oregon. But it's the windows, right? There's an obedience window, right? And then there's a play window. There's a liberty window, and then there's a break window. Like there's just times that this mode needs to be understood by that dog. And so and during that obedience window is not time for play. It's time to listen to the commands, and some of the commands are a duration command, like a heel command, where the dog needs to move with me. And even though we might encounter something that the dog is unfamiliar with, novel, that the dog still needs to rely back on the foundation work of the obedience training that we've worked on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you think of flooding?
Of flooding?
Yeah.
Can you give me an example?
Say flooding in relation to dealing with things that the dog fears in the environment. That is to force the dog to encounter that which it fears until it is habituated to it.
I'm not a fan. What I am a fan of is recognizing when this dog reaches its threshold of overwhelm. And first off, I'm looking at what the dog is fearing. Right. And then putting that in a context of, one, is this something that the dog is going to be encounter on a regular basis? Is this something that is justified in receiving this fear response? Is this, I mean, that's why I'm asking for an example, because there would be different approaches for different things. But I'm not a big fan of flooding. I want the dog to make the right decision, and for me to be able to be like, dude, there you go, buddy. Getting into a place where the dog trusts me, trusts the environment that I put them in, and eventually be able to trust themselves and their handlers in that environment. So with flooding, it's very important to recognize thresholds of overwhelm, and when this dog has become overwhelmed, and looking at kind of a 30,000-foot view of how close we can get to this object, what the dog's doing. I always want that dog to kind of be connected with me, especially if we're in an obedient window, and working through it, and not setting up the dog for failure where it's too much. Now, if we're dealing with something like I was talking about earlier with the come to Jesus and the terrier, the Jack Russell Terrier, where it's like, look, dude, this dog is going to nail me or whatever it is, and we have a come to Jesus and letting the dog know that that's unacceptable behavior. I don't know if that would be a type of flooding.
What do you mean by come to Jesus?
Like a good correction, just letting the dog know that that's not acceptable behavior whatsoever. Letting the dog receive.
And what do you mean by correction?
I mean, using the chain, using the collar, anything that keeps me safe, but also lets the dog know that this is something that you don't want to continue.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Well, with flooding, you've got to be careful of sensitization, of sensitizing the dog
Absolutely.
to whatever it is that it fears in your attempts to.
And also celebrating the dog when they do overcome a fear and when they do make progress.
This is one of the things that we talked about a lot in the episode with me and Jennifer Zalegs, was flooding and where how that should be optimally implemented. And I think the conclusion to that was something along the lines of we should push the dogs in the direction that we seek to take them, to face their fears, let's say.
Yep.
But we shouldn't overwhelm them.
That's
with,
right.
Whatever it is they fear.
Yep. And recognizing
that's really the important point to consider.
That's right.
when it comes
That's
to
what I
flooding.
mean by the threshold of overwhelm, right? Maintaining that threshold and keeping them below that, and so that they can experience this without feeling the need to hop into that fight or flight,
Right.
or fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, and then knowing the telltale signs of when this overwhelm threshold is being, we're getting to a point where the dog is getting overwhelmed, and being able to adjust accordingly in the moment. And then that's where rapport, behavior, like having a good relationship, but also letting the dog do. A lot of times too, like I don't want to be managing this dog in a way that I'm always present. I want this dog to overcome this fear in a way that they've figured it out on their own, where I'm not there the whole time, as Bart would say, like a dancing monkey. You just be like, over here, or like let the dog do, let the dog realize. And then once the dog realizes, maybe shakes it out, checks it out. If it's something that is like an inanimate object, dog maybe sniffs it or something, that we can walk off. And then that's when I'm there to be like, right on, dude. Good job. Way to go. You overcome that fear.
Yeah, that seemed like the right approach to flooding if you are going to utilize.
I don't necessarily call it flooding, because when I think about flooding, like you just think of flooding, like everything, you're just covered in water, like up to here, like it's something that you can't control, where it's absolutely something that I'm in control of the environment. The dog is safe. I'm not going to put the dog in a situation where they're set up for failure. But there's times when
flooding is forcing the dog to encounter something that they don't want to encounter.
Yeah.
And that can be in very minor doses, let's say. And sometimes that is really necessary. Like, you have a dog that's fearful of whatever it is that they're fearful of. And sometimes you need to say, hey, let's go and encounter this together. And let's push you in the direction of whatever it is you don't want to encounter. And then you see that which you don't want to encounter is not as bad as you think it is.
That's right.
So, I mean, that would be an example of flooding. But yeah, I mean, that's the optimal way in which flooding is utilized. But you really do have to be careful in not overwhelming the dog to the point where they become more afraid of what they already are afraid of.
Yeah, it just confirms that they have every right to be afraid of this.
Right.
And yeah, buddy. Well, I think I just got a text here. I think I might need to go pick up a dog. I put up a link to your YouTube channel. Here, let me see here. And then you have here, let me put up a link to your website as well. And then you're currently training dogs for the general public, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Primarily, I train pet dogs. That is, dogs with problematic behaviors that are just normal pet dogs that have whatever kind of problematic behaviors. But I train any kind of dogs, and anyone that reaches out to me, I'm quite sure that they're going to have a pretty high level of success in terms of the outcomes that they seek to achieve.
Beautiful. Well, we've been chatting for a couple hours, man. I can't wait to see the interview with Jennifer, and I might reach out to her, and I want to get her book. I'm going to look for it. And
you have to read her book, and you have to get her on your show. It'll be a cool conversation if you can get her on your show. Like I said, I had her on the Super K9 show in person. But yeah, you should definitely get her on your show as well. She needs to be discovered by more dog trainers. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, let's say goodbye to everybody. Thanks for joining us on another live stream. Consider supporting me on my Patreon. Let me see if I put up a link to my yes, I did. On my Patreon page, you guys. Or scan the QR code right there, and that will take you there. And for all my supporters,
remember to subscribe to the Super K9 show.
Yep, subscribe to Super K9.
Yeah.
YouTube.com, Super K9 at Super K9.
Yeah.
And what time is it there in England right now? It's getting close to midnight, huh?
Let me have a look. It is midnight.
Okay. Yeah, you go to bed, man.
It's pretty late here. But,
yeah. Thank you for staying up with me, William.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. You know, I'll come on your show anytime you like.
Awesome, brother. All right, you guys. I'll say goodbye to you in the studio, William. So hang tight.